Help a Reporter Out, which rebranded to Connectively, shut down a few weeks ago. And on this episode of the show, I'm going to talk about why they shut down and the reincarnation, the alternatives, the amazing alternatives that exist, one of which is a direct reincarnation. If you don't know Help a Reporter Out, it was for many years, several decades actually, it was the top service for getting for free, for getting included in big publications as an expert. So the way that it worked is a journalist needed an expert quote for their article or for their TV show or for their video, whatever it was. And a lot of the time it was top news publications or top just whatever publications. It was top websites, top news networks, big journalists, and they were looking for credible experts. And they would turn to Help a Reporter Out and they would say, I'm looking for an expert to comment on so-and-so. And they would get a bunch of submissions and they would pick the submission. Most of the time, people would just send them direct quotes. They would pick the quote that they liked the best, the quote that agreed with what they were writing or that came from the most credible source. Or if it was a piece of media like a TV show or a video, then they would go with the most credible source who's also able to speak well. And that's how it worked. You're an expert. You want to get backlinks, you want to get included in top publications, and you respond to all of these journalist queries. And if you're a journalist and you need expert quotes, you put out a query. And that's how it worked. That's simply how it worked. But it shut down a few weeks ago. The reason that it shut down, well, there's a few of them. So I'm going to read an article that I wrote. I wrote this on November 10th, 2024. It's called Pour One Out for Help a Reporter Out. And I like that title, Pour One Out for Help a Reporter Out, and explains exactly what happened and the top alternative and the reincarnation. That's what I have for you right now. So Help a Reporter Out, which rebranded to Connectively, just announced it's shutting down. And now it's actually gone. It has shut down. This was, for over a decade, the best known platform for transforming expertise into SEO backlinks. Journalists post a question saying they need an expert quote for their article. Experts respond. The expert that is picked gets a backlink and substantial press, and it really was. You would appear in, like I said, the top publications. So it was substantial press. This was used by the top publishers in media, TV2, New York Times, Fox News, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Reuters, AP, The Guardian, The Daily Telegraph, and many, many more. I used to get backlinks from the highest domain authority news sites possible. And if you don't know what a backlink is when one site links to another site. If the linking site has many high authority backlinks of its own, then it becomes authoritative. This authority helps to rank for keywords within Google. And in some AI chatbots, it even prioritizes which websites are recommended by the AI chatbot. SOS, source of sources. I'm obsessed with this tool. Here's what this is. I said I'm going to give you a reincarnation. Peter Shankman above founded Help a Reporter Out, sold it in 2010, and left the company in 2012. Years later, he founded Source of Sources, a competitor to Help a Reporter Out, and it is legit. Before I share why it's so legit, this is why Help a Reporter Out had become unusable, and this is part of the reason why it shut down. So journalists were getting tons of AI-generated responses. There were tons of people sending journalists irrelevant pitches. There were just nonsense responses that journalists were getting that wasted their time. Help a Reporter Out's expert scoring system was never used. And that's why, part of the reason why it shut down. The other reason is there's lots of alternatives like featured.com or quoted or source of sources, which I'm about to share. So along comes Source of Sources. Here's how Source of Sources work and why I'm obsessed with it, why it's amazing. And this is again by the founder of Help a Reporter Out. So this is the reincarnation of Help a Reporter Out, which just shut down. Here's how Source of Sources work. If you pitch a journalist something irrelevant, even once, you're booted from the platform. If you respond to a journalist with AI written text, you're booted from the platform. If you waste a journalist's time with nonsense, you're booted from the platform. No forgiveness for offenders, bans for life. And here's more of why I'm obsessed with Source of Sources. Less spam means a way higher likelihood of journalists actually seeing your response. Here is where these journalists are from, and I share a screenshot. It's the BBC, New York Post, New York Times, NPR, Fox Business, Inc., People, Wall Street Journal, National Geographic, Forbes, Wired. I think you get the gist. It's top places, top publications. The website for Source of Sources says 20,000 plus journalists, broadcasters, bloggers, and brands use Source of Sources. And it's free. It's free, by the way. Just like Help a Reporter Out, it's free. Source of Sources is a 2 times per day email that goes out sharing journalists who need expert sources for their content. As the expert, you read through a list of queries and respond to whoever you want. You literally are giving the journalist personal emails. And I share screenshots of how it looks. And if you've ever used Help a Reporter Out, it literally looks exactly like Help a Reporter Out. It's pretty much a carbon copy of Help a Reporter Out with stricter rules that will make it less likely to get shut down. Because if you're sending journalists spam and making the platform unusable for journalists, you're banned. You're banned for life. And it's free. So I said there's plenty of competitors, but this is completely free and it has top publications. And I close the article out, respond to journalists, get top backlinks, appear in authoritative publications, put these logos on your website, and flex on LinkedIn that you were quoted in so-and-so top news outlet. So pour one out for Help a Reporter Out, but its incarnation, Source of Sources, is excellent too. So to recap, Help a Reporter Out shut down because it had become unusable for journalists. And I was actually a journalist on there as well as an expert. So I can say that from firsthand. I got so many junk responses from quote unquote experts, ones that were written by AI, ones that were written by content spinners, ones that were complete nonsense, ones that weren't proofread, so much junk that I had, ones from not real experts, ones from fake people, so much that I had to go through. And it was really hard to use if you were an actual journalist. And then if you're an expert, you're competing with just so many people who are BSing, and the journalists have stopped reading all of these pitches because they just got so many of them. So it had become very hard to use. And then in its place, lots of great alternatives popped up, like Featured, Quoted, and Source of Sources. So that's why Help a Reporter Out, which rebranded to Connectively, didn't make it. It shut down. And Source of Sources, like I said, its incarnation is very good too. That's what I have for you on episode 535 of my daily digital marketing podcast, The Edward Show. I do this thing every day. I share cool tools and cool strategies and cool case studies just like this every single day, 535 days in a row. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you'll try Source of Sources. And if you do, let me know what you think. Pour one out for Help a Reporter Out. RIP. Rest in peace. HARO. Help a Reporter Out. Rest in peace. I will talk to everybody again tomorrow. Bye now.